gentlemen, and welcome into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Today I'm dressing up as a coach because some of these teams they need a little bit more coaching experience. So this is this is my look for the day. Even though that it is October 31st, I still feel like I'm a head coach somewhere. So, the first game that I am going to cover is the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Texas Longhorns. So, now, when I get into the Texas Longhorns, first off, let me take off my glasses so y'all know that it is exactly me and that I am serious. So, the first game I'm going to get into is the Vanderbilt Commodores and Texas Longhorns. Vanderbilt, led by Diego Pavia, he has 1,698 yards. He's 139 and 202 of 202, 1,698 yards, 68.8% completion percentage, touchdowns to interceptions 15 to 5. So that is great, but he has gotten sacked quite a couple of times the last few games. He got 7 sacks. Here is the rushing attack for the Vanderbilt Commodores, led by Diego Pavia. Now, I always say when the quarterback is your leading rusher, that's a bad thing. But Vanderbilt in this case is the exception because Diego Pavia, most of his run yards come when it's on broken plays. When the play is designed to go to someone as a wide receiver or his running back, and the running back and wide receiver gets covered up, Diego Pavia's second thing in here to emphasize is to run. And that's what he's been doing. He's ran for almost 500 yards, to be exact, 458. Here's the receiving core for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Vanderbilt Commodores. Here is the kicking for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Here's the defense for the Vanderbilt Commodores. And here's their defense as a solo team. Solo tackles 487. Now we know what the Vanderbilt defense can do. Now let's see what that offense can do. Offensively, Vanderbilt, 38.4 points per game. Total points, 307. Third down efficiency, 52%. Fourth down efficiency, 55%, which is, I'm going to say, middle of the pack in college football. Now, let's fast forward to the Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns led by Archibald Manning. 143 of 235 completions, 1,795 yards, 60.9% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Here is their rushing attack led by Quantravion Wisner for the Texas Longhorns. Here is the Longhorns receiving core led by Ryan Wingo. Here is the Texas Longhorns kicking. And here's the Longhorns defense, who has 566 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now let's see that offense. Now, over the past couple of weeks, and mainly throughout the entirety of the season, the offense for the Texas Longhorns has sputtered. Texas Longhorns total points per game, 29. Third down efficiency, 38. Fourth down efficiency, 41, which is one of the worst, if not the worst, in college football. They are not a good fourth down offense for a reason. Now, when we get to matchups, in this case, and we see where Texas Longhorns at the start of the season, on paper, it seems like they were a matchup for anybody to deal with. They were. But now, since you lost to Ohio State and you've lost to, well, you didn't lose, but you have had trouble with inferior competition, everybody is taken aback by that because you've struggled against top tier competition and now you're struggling against inferior competition, which doesn't look great because I'm not going to say we, but the so-called experts before the season started expected Texas Longhorns to be one of the top 5 offenses in college football, and it hasn't panned out that way. It hasn't. Now I'm going to get to one of my favorite segments of the show. I'm going to get to I am going to get to the key storylines for this matchup. Number 22 Texas hosts number 10 Vanderbilt. Number 10 Vanderbilt 7-1 at number 22 Texas 6-2. November 1st at 12 p.m. How to watch ABC. Key stats. Texas offense overall 375.6 yards per game, 79th in FBS currently in college football. Passing 235.9 yards per game, 66th in college football. Rushing 139.8 yards per game, 90th in college football. Scoring 29 points per game, 66th in college football. Texas defense overall 300.4 yards per game, 19th in FBS currently in college football. Passing 219.6 yards per game, 66th currently in college football. Rushing 80.8 yards per game, 3rd in college football. Scoring 14.6 points per game 10th currently in college football. That's the Texas Longhorns offense and defense that I just went over. Now let's get to the Vanderbilt offense. Vanderbilt offense overall 433.6 yards per game, 33rd in FBS currently in college football. Passing 230.3 yards per game, 70th in college football. Rushing 203.4 yards per game, 24th in college football. Scoring 38.4 points per game, 12th in college football. Vanderbilt defense overall 322.6 yards per game, 31st in FBS currently in college football. Passing 220.9 yards per game, 70th in college football. Rushing 101.8 yards per game, 18th in college football currently. Scoring 18.8 points per game, 24th in college football currently. Texas ranks 20th in FBS in defensive third down percentage, allowing points to convert on 31.5% of third downs. Texas is 13th in FBS with a +7 turnover margin. Both teams are heavily penalized. Texas ranks 116th in FBS, averaging 65.6 penalty yards per game, and Vanderbilt ranks 117th with a 65.8 yard average. Team leaders. Texas team leaders. Passing, Arch Manning, 1,795 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 60.9% completion percentage. Quintravion Wisener, 263 yards on 70 carries, 2 TDs. Receiving, Ryan Wingo, 504 yards on 29 catches, 4 touchdowns. Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, 1,698 yards, 15 TDs, 5 interceptions, 68.8 completion percentage. Rushing, Pavia, 458 yards on 85 carries, 5 touchdowns. Receiving, Eli Stowers, 397 yards on 31 catches, 2 touchdowns. Last game for both teams, Texas won 35-38 over Mississippi State on Saturday. Manning led Texas with 346 yards on 29 of 46 passing, 63% for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. He also carried the ball 10 times for 6 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Wisner had 41 rushing yards on 12 carries, adding 6 receptions for 17 yards. Wingo had 5 receptions for 148 yards. Vanderbilt defeated Missouri 17-10 on Saturday. Pavia led Vanderbilt with 129 yards on 10 of 19 passing, 52.6 yards per game for no touchdowns and 1 interception. He also carried the ball 8 times for 20 yards and 1 touchdown. Malika Young had 86 rushing yards for 4 carries and 1 touchdown. Trey Richardson put up 62 yards on 4 catches. Now, here is the game plan and the prediction for this game. The Texas Longhorns are a 3.5 point favorite in this game. 3.5 point favorite. Now, Vanderbilt, I know the last 3 weeks I've said Vanderbilt is coming into the fold as a powerhouse. I did say that. I did. But if there's one game where I expect the Texas Longhorns to win, it would be this game because there's a lot of similarities in this game. Now, Texas Longhorns, if they win this game, they are 7-2, the same record as the Vanderbilt Commodores in a crowded SEC, because you already have 3 teams in the SEC that has at least 7 wins or better. 7 wins or better, and you have four SEC teams that have at least 6 wins or better. So the SEC has been crowded all throughout this season. Now for the Texas Longhorns, I expect the Texas Longhorns to win this game. I expect Arch Manning to have a good game. Now I know that the Vanderbilt Commodores defense is good. I know that, but the Texas Longhorns are at home, and I believe now the Texas Longhorns are starting to find their stride with their offense. You have Arch Manning, who had pretty much a Herculean comeback in last week's game when it comes to Mississippi State. But now Texas Longhorns, they see that they are 6-2. They still control their own destiny. They can still make it to the college football playoff. And all things are pointing to Vanderbilt being on their way to the college football playoff. So I got the Texas Longhorns in this game. The next game I am going to cover is the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers. Let me start this off with player statistics for the Oklahoma Sooners. John Mateer, 1,790 passing yards, 150 of 236, 1,790 passing yards, 63.6 completion percentage. Touchdown, interception, he has been a little bit inconsistent with that. 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, ain't gonna cut it. That's not going to cut it. Running backs, rushing attack for the Oklahoma Sooners, read by Trey Blaylock and John Mateer. Here is the receiving core for the Oklahoma Sooners. Here is the kicking for the Sooners. Here is the defense for the Oklahoma Sooners. And defensively as a whole, they have 497 solo tackles as a defensive unit. That's a lot of missed tackles. It is a lot of missed tackles. But now we see what the offense. Let's see what the offense can do. Oklahoma Sooners total points per game 28.4. Third down efficiency 41%. Fourth down efficiency 58%. Now, last week against Ole Miss, they did not look great at all. They had chances to win over Ole Miss, but they didn't because John Mateer, his passing, sometimes he was just off on his passes. There were 5 passes in the game versus Ole Miss that I just said that he's a little rusty. Now, he has been injured throughout the entirety of the season, so we have to take that into consideration. And Ole Miss offensively, outside of John Mateer, they really haven't been doing much on the field. They really haven't. Defensively, they are middle of the pack. When we look at the storylines for this game, first I'm going to get to the Tennessee Volunteers offense led by Joey Aguilar, and then I will get into storylines for this game. Joey Aguilar, 166 of 252, 2,344 yards. We know that Tennessee Volunteers, they like to air the ball out, throw the ball all over the field. 65.9% completion. Touchdown to interception, 18-6. His touchdown to interception ratio, Joey Aguilar's, is 6-1. Because 6 times 3, I can say that 6 times 3 is 18, and we all know that 1 times 6 is 6. So 3-1 touchdown to interception ratio, that looks great. Now, when we get to the rushing attack for the Tennessee Volunteers, led by D. Bishop, he has almost 700 yards. Receiving, that is led by Chris Brazzell II. Chris Brazzell II, he's had a good season. Kicking for the Tennessee Volunteers. Here is the defense for the Tennessee Volunteers. And at tackles as a defensive unit for the Volunteers, they have 616 tackles. A lot of tackles. They don't have too many missed tackles. Now let me get to the storylines for this game. Tennessee hosts Oklahoma in ranked SEC matchup. Number 13, Oklahoma, 6-2 at number 17. Tennessee, 6-2. How to watch, ABC. Key stats. Tennessee offense, overall 510.1 yards per game. Third in FBS currently in college football. Passing, 321.4 yards per game. Third in college football. Rushing, 188.8 yards per game. 35th in college football currently. Scoring, 45.6 points per game, second in college football currently. Tennessee's defense, 401.5 yards per game, 102nd in college football. Passing, 266.9 yards per game, 124th in college football. Rushing, 134.6 yards per game, 53rd in college football. Scoring, 30.9 points per game, 112th in college football. Oklahoma's offense, that is the Tennessee Volunteers offense and defense. Now let me switch on over to Oklahoma's offense. Overall, Oklahoma's offense, 376.5 yards per game, 78th in FBS currently in college football. Passing, 246.4 yards per game, 55th in college football. 130.1 rushing yards, 99th in college football currently. Scoring, 28.4 points per game, 73rd in college football currently. Oklahoma's defense, overall 240.3 yards per game, 6th in FBS currently in college football. Passing, 155.4 yards per game, 10th in college football currently. Rushing, 84.9 yards per game, sixth in college football, currently scoring 12.5 points per game, fifth in college football currently. Tennessee ranks 25th in FBS in third down percentage, converted 47.4% of the time. Oklahoma is 117th in FBS with a negative 6 turnover margin compared to Tennessee's 22nd ranked +5 margin. Tennessee is 125th in FBS red zone trips defense, allowing opponents to score 93.1% of their trips. Oklahoma's red zone offense ranks first, scoring on 100% of their red zone opportunities. When we get to this, and this statistic alone, this is going to be a shootout, America. Oklahoma's offense and Tennessee's offense. Downright shootout in this game. Because when you have a defense that gives up 93 points, when you have a defense that gives up points on 93% of their defensive series, this is going to be a offensive shootout no matter what. Tennessee is 130th in FBS with an average time of possession of 26 minutes and 43 seconds compared to Oklahoma's 68th ranked average of 30 minutes. Team leaders: Joey Aguilar, 2,344 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 65.9% completion percentage. Rushing: Deshaun Bishop, 652 yards on 91 carries, 9 TDs. Receiving: Chris Brazzell II, 740 yards on 43 catches, 8 TDs. Oklahoma: John Mateer, 1,790 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 63.6% completion percentage. Rushing: Troy Blaylock, 403 yards on 93 carries, 4 TDs. Receiving: Isaiah Santinga, 624 yards on 43 carries, 5 touchdowns. Last game for both teams. Tennessee defeated Kentucky 56-34. Aguilar led Tennessee 396 yards, 20 of 26 passing, 76.9% for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Star Thomas had 64 rushing yards on 10 carries and 1 touchdown. Brazzell recorded 138 yards on 4 catches with 1 touchdown. Oklahoma fell to Ole Miss 34-26 last Saturday. 223 yards on 731 attempts. 54.8 with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Xavier Robinson carried the ball 9 times and 109 yards and scored 2 touchdowns, adding 2 receptions for 27 yards. Santanaga had 6 receptions for 131 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, when we get to the point spread for this game, I am going to tell you, point spread for this game is, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I'm just going to go with Tennessee, because one thing that I see with Tennessee is that their offense scores no matter what. It's just the defense that needs to come up. Now, Oklahoma's defense, middle of the pack. But how is that offense going to do? Because John Mateer, he's been up and down all game. He's been up and down all season. So I'm going to take the Tennessee Volunteers in this game, not just because they are at home, but they have the better offense. The last game I am going to cover it's going to be a late game, and I know a lot of people, they probably don't care about this game, but it's a ranked matchup. Both teams are ranked in this game. Cincinnati Bearcats and the Utah Utes. Cincinnati Bearcats, B source speed, 133 of 204, 1,843 yards, 65.2% completion percentage. Look at this touchdown to interception ratio, America. 20 touchdowns to 1 interception. Ooh, man. Now this is almost along the lines of the quarterback for Alabama, Ty Simpson. This guy, he protects the ball. 20 touchdowns and 1 interception. He doesn't throw interceptions too often. Here is the Bearcats rushing attack with E. Pryor, led by E. Pryor, with 478 yards. Receiving, C. Allen with 381 yards. Here's the kicker for the Bearcats. And here is the Bearcats defense. Their defense as a whole has 594 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now let me get to that offense for the Cincinnati Bearcats. I don't know if anybody has been watching the Cincinnati Bearcats, but it is not when it comes to their offense to lowball their offense. Now, Cincinnati, they did start off the season slow with their offense, but the last 5 games, they have scored an average of 28 points at least in every game. Third down efficiency, 43%. Fourth down efficiency, 90%. One of the best in college football. So this team is not afraid to go for it on fourth down, America. If you've been looking at the Cincinnati Bearcats like I have been throughout the entirety of this season. Now we see, what can we get from the Utah Utes? I've covered the Utah Utes multiple times throughout this season, and what I can say is they are 6-2 right now, currently on the outside looking in. They might be able to get to the college football playoff, but college football playoff, that is going to be, I believe the college football playoff committee, they start making their first chart this week, if I'm not mistaken. Well, this Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So we are going to see a lot, and I do mean a lot, of teams in the 12-team college football playoff. And I believe, if the calendar states me correctly, I believe that maybe that Wednesday, I'm going to give my reaction to the college football rankings. But that is if the calendar states me correctly. But back to what I was saying when it comes to the Utah Utes. Davion Demper, 183 of 201, 1,375 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Here is the rushing attack for the Utah Utes, led by W. Parker. Here is the receiving core, led by R. Davis. Here is the kicking, led by D. Curtis. And here is the defense for the Utes. And they have 453 solo tackles as a defense. Now we know what the defense can do for the Utah Utes. Let's get to the offense. 38.9 points per game. But sometimes they have trouble scoring 25 points a game. So I believe, sometimes these statistics are inflated. I believe that sometimes. Now we get to third down offensive efficiency, 54%. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 62%. Now let's get to the storylines for this game. This is a Big 12 matchup. Not a lot of people are focused on the Big 12, but I am. Utah hosts Cincinnati in ranked Big 12 matchup. Number 17, Cincinnati 7-1 at number 24, Utah 6-2. Utah by 7 against the spread. Utah 6-2. Cincinnati 6-2 against the spread. How to watch? ESPN. Key stats: Utah offense 476.9 yards per game. 13th in FBS currently in college football. Passing 209.8 yards per game. 91st in college football currently. Rushing 267.1 yards per game. 5th in college football currently. Scoring 38.9 points per game. 11th in college football currently. Utah defense. Overall, 285.4 yards per game. 12th in FBS college football currently. Passing 148.8 yards per game. 7th in college football currently. Rushing 136.6 yards per game. 56 in college football currently. Scoring 14.3 points per game. 9th in college football currently. Cincinnati offense 437.6 yards per game. 29th in FBS in college football currently. Passing yards per game. 60th in college football currently. Rushing 195.4 yards per game. 31st in college football currently. Scoring 38.3 points per game. 13th in college football currently. Cincinnati defense overall 368.4 yards per game. 71st in FBS. Passing 227.5 yards. 77th in college football currently. Rushing 140.9 yards per game. 64th in college football currently. Not scoring 19.0 points per game. 28th in college football currently. Utah ranks 3rd in FBS in third down percentage, converting 54.2% of the time. Cincinnati ranks 128th in FBS, averaging 71.5 penalty yards per game compared to Utah's 66th ranked 54.4 per game average. Both teams have a strong red zone offense. Utah is 24th in FBS, scoring 91.7% of red zone trips. Cincinnati red zone offense ranks 4th at 97.1%. Cincinnati ranks 135th in the FBS and with an average time of possession 25 minutes 24 seconds compared to Utah 27 ranked average 31 minutes 36 seconds. Team leaders: Utah, Davion Damper 1,375 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 68.7% completion percentage. Rushing: Wayshawn Parker 503 yards on 70 carries, 4 TDs. Receiving: Ryan Davis 518 yards on 48 catches, 3 TDs. Cincinnati passing yards: Brandon Sorsby 1,829 yards, 19 TDs, 1 interception, 65% completion percentage. Rushing: Evan Pryor 478 yards on 66 carries, 3 touchdowns. Receiving: Cyrus Allen 367 yards on 33 catches, 8 touchdowns. Last game, Utah won 53-7 over Colorado on Saturday. Bird Flicklin led Utah with 140 yards. on 10 of 22 passing, 45.5% of two touchdowns and no interceptions. He also carried the ball 20 times for 151 yards and one rushing touchdown. Parker carried the ball 10 times for 145 yards and scored one touchdown. Larry Simmons had two receptions for 39 yards and one touchdown. Cincinnati won over Baylor 41-20 on Saturday. Sorsby led Cincinnati with 111 yards on 13 of 21 passing, 61.9 for two touchdowns and no interceptions. He also carried the ball 11 times for 85 yards and one rushing touchdown. Twain Walker carried the ball 19 times and 84 yards, scored one touchdown, adding three receptions for 18 yards. Allen put up 36 yards on three catches with one touchdown. Point spread for this game, and this will be the final point spread of this game. And as you can see, according to ESPN Sportsbook, they have the Cincinnati Bearcats as a 10-point underdog, 10.5-point underdog. And they have the Utah Utes as a 10.5-point favorite. It opened up at 7.5. I think the Utah Utes will win this game. I do, because Cincinnati defensively is allowing 400 yards a game. And credit, Cincinnati has played inferior competition, and they've won most of their games in blowouts. But Utah Utes are one of those teams that can make a game look ugly. So that's why I'm going with the Utah Utes. And with that, those are my predictions to week 10 of the college football season. One thing I can say is, hopefully y'all liked Coach Key stopping by the show. Now, there is one thing I got to say. If you need any type of coaching expertise, you can reach out to Coach Key. Coach Key, he doesn't come on the show much. He doesn't come on the show often, once every year, but he will be here at the end of the year to let y'all know, to answer any questions y'all have going into 2026. And as of right now, it is a beautiful day outside today. It's the last day of October. It's October 31st. We only have 60 more days in 2025. So for your encouragement, anything that you have sought out to do in 2025 that you did not accomplish, you can accomplish it in 2026, because 2026 is the year of new opportunities. It's the year of new opportunities for everybody, and including me. We have done so much for this channel, and we have done so much for Key City Sports in the last couple of months. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube. Key City Sports on Instagram, and go and follow my page, The Key, on millions.co. We have been doing so much on Millions that I know there are a lot of people that are subscribing to my channel now just because of Millions. Thank you, because business is starting to boom, and we are also in the running for a sponsorship with a health brand company. So fingers crossed, hopefully that we can get it. So final thing I am going to say is, everybody, go out there and accomplish your goals. And this is from Coach Key. Coach Key believes in everybody. He believes in everybody when it comes to my audience, because everybody has been put on this earth to do something. It's up to you to go out there and fulfill your opportunity and fulfill your dream. I know that sometimes, some situations, it may be dire. I know. Hell, it was dire for me for the last 2 years, but now the light, I'm starting to see light at the end of this tunnel here. Coach Key is starting to see light at the end of this tunnel, and we are walking through the light, and we are going to be successful. So 2026, please, y'all need to be in store for 2026 because we have a lot of things that we are going to be rolling out. We are going to be rolling out so much merch. And not just that, you may even see me on some big time commercials. You know, I've been working that out with the team and stuff with my team. So you may see Coach Key on many different screens in 2026. So that's all I got to say. So everybody, please have a very, very safe and enjoy your weekend. I expect to see everybody in here on Monday morning after the weekend so that we can unravel what happened in week 10 of the college football season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. Remember, everybody, one last thing. Coach Key is always on time.